Shabbat lessons have focused on covenants, and so far we've learned that a covenant can be both law and promise simultaneously, with a law being unconditional and a promise having conditions. Now there are also agreements, so it must be between multiple parties. The first covenant was between Word and Ruach, in which Adam was manifested. Adam's covenant of law was to maintain Yah's image in the earth, while his covenant of promise was to not eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. When this condition was not kept, the covenant of promise with Yah was broken, while a new covenant was created with the serpent. Adam's covenant with Yah, which yielded abundance and was rooted in love, has now been traded for death, harvested from curses and disobedience. Because Yah's covenant between Word and Ruach is unconditionally everlasting. Hallelujah. Because Yah's covenant between Word and Spirit and Ruach is unconditionally everlasting. And Adam and Eve broke the conditions of the covenant of promise. They are now alive, living a life in sorrow, dead or separated from Yah's countenance. Now, this rising, I'm only going to step out of the 66 for a little bit, just for reference sake. And I'm going to be reading from the Forgotten Books of Eden, also known as the first and second books of Adam and Eve. So to give context, Adam and Eve have left Eden. They had to leave. Yah instructed them to go and dwell in the cave of treasures, where he tells them that they must stay for 5.5 days. And on this particular day, Adam is speaking to Yah. In chapter 8, from chapter 8, verses 1 and 2, I'll read. Then Adam wept and said, O Yahweh, when we dwelt in the garden and our hearts were lifted up, we saw the angels that sang praises in heaven, but now we do not see as we were used to do. Nay, when we entered the cave, all creation became hidden from us. Then Yahweh Elohim said unto Adam, when thou was under subjection to me, thou hadst a bright nature within thee. Thou hadst a bright nature within thee. And for that reason couldst thou see things afar off. But after thy transgression, thy bright nature was withdrawn from thee, and it was not left to thee to see things afar off, but only near at hand, after the ability of the flesh, for it is brutish. So when Adam and Eve disobeyed, their sight became limited. In a sense, they were more concerned or more involved with the temporal things, that took place in the earth. Now, Adam and Eve are experiencing complete sorrow, because again, they had to become intimate with evil. They had to know evil because they ate of the knowledge of it. So they cried frequently. They cried out because they were always afraid, because Satan was seeking to kill them. Hallelujah. To steal, kill, and destroy. He's always been on mission. And they were so sad. Like in that time, the sadness that was on them was so heavy that they attempted suicide multiple times. Now, after about the fourth time of suicide by Adam cries out to Yah. And he then goes to speak to Yahweh again in chapter 14. And it reads, Then Adam said to Yahweh, O Lord, take thou my soul, and let me not see this gloom anymore, and remove me to some place where there is no darkness. But Yahweh Elohim said to Adam, Verily, I say unto thee, this darkness will pass from thee. This darkness will pass from thee. That's comforting. Whew, hallelujah. And all that he's gone through, this is how Yah starts to speak to him. Adam is still entreating Yah. He's still going out to him. He's still seeking him. And even in his wrongdoing, Adam seeking with an expectation to hear. Hallelujah. Yahweh says, Verily I say unto thee, this darkness will pass from thee. Every day I have determined for thee, until the fulfillment of my covenant, when I will save thee and bring thee back again into the garden, into the abode of light thou longest for, wherein is no darkness. I will bring thee to it in the kingdom of heaven. Verse 3, again said Yahweh unto Adam, all this misery that thou has been made to take upon thee because of thy transgression will not free thee from the hand of Satan, and will not save thee. But I will, verse 4, but I will, when I shall come down from heaven and shall become flesh of thy seed, and take upon me the infirmities from which thou sufferest, then the darkness, only then the darkness that came upon thee in this cave shall come upon me in the grave, when I am in the flesh of thy seed. And I, who am without years, that's eternal, every day, all day, beginning to end, no stop. And I, who am without years, shall be subject to the reckoning of years, of time, of months, and of days. And I shall be reckoned as one of the sons of men in order to save thee. From the beginning, he has covered all. Hallelujah. And Adam ceased to commune with, and Yahweh ceased to commune with Adam. Now Yahweh reveals that after the 5.5 day sentence, he himself will come down and save them. Hallelujah, for salvaging. Now in chapter 14, verse 2, Yah says the fulfillment of my law. Remembering that Word and Ruach agreed to make man in our image. And we understand that image is everything, right? So that includes inside, outside, thoughts, feelings, emotions, actions. These are the things that Adam was supposed to be of Yah, not just outer appearance. Although that is still important, that is not the only thing, because there are many parts to Yahweh. Hallelujah. Adam was the physical representation of Word, whereas Eve was the physical representation of Ruach. Yet they, Adam and Eve, had yet to make man in their image, fulfilling Yah's covenant in flesh, in the physical. So all of the evil that Adam and Eve introduced had to take 5.5 days. This is Yahweh's day count, not ours, because again, he is eternal. He speaks in the eternity. So it takes 5.5 Yahweh days to be filtered out. So all of that evil, that the knowledge of evil in that sense had to be filtered out before verse 4 could even take place, before Yahweh could come down. That time had to come to pass. So in what I'm presenting today, I want to show how all the covenants connect, and hopes that you can see it personally and find law and promise for self. So all the covenants from Noah to beloved was a filtration process to create the atmosphere for Yahweh's arrival, just as Eve was created before and for Adam. Hallelujah. I'm going to start where the beginning is, with Noah. Now, Lamech, whose name is very similar to the Hebrew character Lamed, means great teacher. And he is the father of Noah. And Lamech names Noah in according to his work in earth and his purpose in Yah. Hallelujah. We can see that in Genesis chapter 5, verse 29. And I will read. Genesis chapter 5, 29. And he called his name Noah, saying, the same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because of the ground which Yahweh hath cursed. Now, because Noah was a just man, he was described as a just man, and he was perfect in his generations and also walked with Yah, he understood the assignment. And because he did all Yah commanded, as said in Genesis 6:22, I believe, Yah created a covenant with Noah in Genesis chapter 9, verse 11. Now, Noah's covenant, Genesis 9, verse 11. And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off anymore by the waters of a flood. Now, from Pastor's teaching this week, we've explored that waters are described as spirits. And knowing that the earth would destroy it because it was being consumed by evil spirits. There was an evilness that kept going on and kept birthing more evil. Yah used the waters in the natural. And when he speaks in script, he describes water as spirit. So in verse 11, he's saying that that we will no longer be overtaken by those evil spirits if you are to interchange those words or those understandings. He will not allow the world to be destroyed by the water, taking in both from the spiritual and the natural side. He's not going to cut us off simply because there is an evilness that has taken hold or somewhat overcome us, as water did in the flood. And any more by the waters of a flood, neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. Now, Adam's disobedience removed us from Yah's countenance, whereas forgive me, Adam's disobedience removed us from Yah's countenance and introduced toil to working. So we were built to work and have a work under Yahweh. But when Adam and Eve disobeyed, that work now is more of a toil. There's the countenance of that has been removed. While Noah, through obedience, brought comfort in them, just as his name said he would. The thing that he was called, he became. Now into the into Abraham's covenant. Abraham, formerly known as Abram, was the blessed father of many nations whose name was made great, hence the addition of the Hebrew character Hey, spirit. Now that Noah's covenant has addressed Adam's punishment of Genesis chapter 3 and verse 17 towards toil, Abraham's covenant picks up where Adam was distracted from the mission. Genesis chapter 16 verse 2 says, Abraham hearkened to the voice of Sarai. And that sounds very familiar from when Adam hearkened to the voice of Eve. Now, so far, Abram has been an obedient son unto Yahweh command. He's been obedient wife to Yahweh. He's received instruction through word and moved in the direction of the Ruach. When he was told to take your things and go, he did as he was told. Now, although his actions were a bit questionable when it came to his protection, he did protect Sarai through his faithfulness and obedience unto Yah, because there's an interdependence there. Where Abraham lacked, Yahweh, he provided in abundance. He abounded. So where Abraham was fearful to say that Sarai was his wife, Yahweh came to Pharaoh and said, hey, she belonged to Abraham. So that fear transferred from his fear of what Pharaoh would do was transferred. And so Yahweh, that same fear, ended up in Pharaoh. So Pharaoh, out of fear for Yahweh, did not take Sarah. Because there's an interdependence, because Abraham was being faithful and obedient. Yah spoke to Pharaoh about Sarah keeping her one wife to one husband. And even in that, Abraham cared for his nephew Lot. Now, Lot was the son of his brother that had passed, and Abraham had no children. We know the story. And so you imagine taking on a child that is not your own, yet treating them as though they are. So Abraham has put in the work. He put in the work to live in the exceeding abundant that Yah put his very good on him. He put his Shem on Abram. He put his Shem on him, and he has now become Abraham. Because Abraham has Abraham has proven himself, basically. Abraham, in what he tried to do, he's been obedient. He's tried to protect Sarah. He tried, in what he did, what he thought would provide protection for the both of them. He has been trying to operate in this role, and now, even operating as a father to a child that is not his, Yah has said, you know what? He can commend that. Now here comes his covenant. The covenant of law of Abraham was to make him a father to many nations. But the promise side of that was that every man of them, every man child, every mankind of him must be circumcised. That's in flesh of heart. So you know that the males being born have a circumcision of the flesh that is recognized. Yet spiritually, there also must be a circumcision of the heart. Now from Abraham, we go to Moses. Now Moses is of a Levite mother and a Levite father. And this was a bit spicy to me, right? So when the daughter found him, she knew he was a Hebrew. And I used to wonder, like, how would she know? You know what I mean? Like, how would she know other than you look at skin? But if you do look at skin, there's a possibility that that's not the thing. It's her assurity in him being Hebrew had to come from something that was most recognized or only recognized as being of Hebrew culture. So the covenant before was for them to maintain a circumcision of the males, the male children. And with him being 3 months, like, how other way could you tell? Because some children, even if you look at them and they're that young, they can possess a look that could be either or. They just look like children, some. So my thought processes went to, she took the baby, he was crying, maybe she checked his diaper, right? So there was some assurity in the fact that she pronounced that he was a Hebrew, and she knew that. Now Jacob cursed Levi and Simeon's anger, and because Moses is of Levi mother and father, I like to look a bit deeper in things. So we know that Levi had an issue with anger, he and his brother. But these are the things that were from, as they thought, a righteous place. So now we can see Moses and his heritage through his actions. Now, when Moses goes and murder this Egyptian that is harassing or misusing, mistreating, abusing his brethren, we see his love, but it's being displayed from a unrighteous place, if that makes sense. And Yah shows that he answers Jacob's cry on his deathbed, because when Jacob was dying, he cursed that thing. He cursed that anger because he knew what it would lead to, because he seen it in his children, what they did. He described it as cruel. Hallelujah. Don't forget that these are the children that he had with Leah. And that's another little rabbit hole that you can that you can dive into and be entertained, but you can be educated at the same time. Now, for context on how covenants work independently and can be passed on, Moses kills his brethren. He kills on his brethren's behalf. And Abraham's covenant is upheld in Moses, and because so, he is alive in a time where Hebrew sons were being executed. Now, because that covenant was upheld, Noah's covenant of promise is present. Hallelujah. Moses was not destroyed because he was overcome with the waters of anger. Yah provided Moses a resting place, a place of refuge. Hallelujah. He delivered him from the evil. Hallelujah. So we was talking about that spirit, how the spirit is water. And when when Moses was angry, it showed that showed up in his spirit moving. So when Yah gave him deliverance or gave him an escape, he escaped to a well, right? He escaped to where a well was. Now he's at this well and he draws from it, not just for himself, but for others. Again, showing his heart in a way that it is unselfish. Now, so now with Moses' characteristics of protector, in his rest, he found work and a wife, both with the mission to protect. Now, Zipporah, his wife, she was a protector as well, because she protected their son and Moses by circumcising their son. While Moses was being prepared to go and deliver Yah's word, it was getting close to that time where he should have been. And knowing what Yah has said to Moses, knowing the things that he said would come upon them, because that curse, hallelujah, because the covenant, the blessing is in the covenant, is in the action, those promises is in that circumcision. Zipporah covered her husband and her child. She too was a protector. Now, Moses' covenant was to present and protect law. He presented commandment to Israel and protected Yah's law, even from Israel when the calf was presented. Now, Moses' covenant of promise was rest. Hallelujah. Genesis chapter 30, verse 16 and 17. Let's go there.